Have you ever felt the whisper of wings brush past your cheek on a quiet woodland path? Or glimpsed a flicker of light just out of reach, dancing in the trees?
Welcome to the enchanted world of fairies. In this episode, we journey into the magical roots of fairy folklore across cultures and centuries. Join us as we find out how fairies have fascinated and frightened humanity for generations.
Long before Tinkerbell and fairy wings sparkled on the big screen, fairies lived in myth and oral tradition, guardians of nature and symbols of the unknown. In ancient Greek mythology, the world was born from chaos. The gods and goddesses shaped the earth, and from their divine hands came the nymphs, spirit-like beings tied to the natural world.
There were meadow nymphs, forest nymphs, tree nymphs, and water nymphs, each one tasked with tending a part of nature. They were beautiful, ethereal, and deeply connected to the elements.
Some were pure and helpful, others not so much. Alongside them danced the satyrs, mischievous masculine creatures who walked the line between good and evil. And the sirens, hauntingly beautiful beings who lured sailors to their doom with irresistible song.
Historians believe that these early depictions laid the foundation for what the world would eventually call fairies. Though not yet named, the essence was there: magic, mystery, and a closeness to nature. Let's fast forward to 1400s England. The word fairy began to appear in writing thanks in part to the book Autea Imperialia by Gervase of Tilbury. In it, the globe-trotting scholar described beings both beautiful and ugly, small and tall, good and wicked.
But England didn't adopt these fairies as sweet, fluttering forest friends. In fact, the opposite is true. To the average Briton, fairies were something to fear. They were thought to curse crops, kidnap children, and meddle in human affairs. Some Britons believed that just saying the word fairy could summon the creatures. Instead, people referred to them in hushed tones as the neighbors, the gentry, or the little people. To avoid fairy wrath, some folks altered the very design of their homes, like removing corners so as not to block a fairy's path. They avoided forests, streams, and even certain hillsides known to be fairy places. To the Britons, fairies weren't creatures of whimsy. They were beings of power.
As Christianity spread across Europe, it encountered deeply rooted folklore and pagan beliefs throughout.
But rather than erase these old stories, the church found a way to repurpose them. Fairies, it was said, were fallen angels, too good for hell, yet not good enough for heaven. They were cast out and sent to earth, suspended in the mortal realm as neither a demon nor a saint. Fairies remained magical and mysterious. However, their purpose was unclear. The church supported this idea, reinforcing religious teachings while accommodating local folklore. It's fascinating how beliefs evolve. What were once forest spirits became divine exiles. what once was myth became a tale of morality.
So, has anyone captured an image of a real fairy? In 1917, two young girls in England, Frances Griffiths and Elsie Wright, took 5 photographs of fairies in the garden near their home. Needless to say, the world was captivated. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, believed they were real and wrote about them in The Coming of the Fairies. Decades later, Elsie admitted that the fairies in the first 4 photos were paper cutouts from a book, but Frances held firm. She insisted the 5th photo showed the real fairies. Whether real or fabricated, the Cottingley fairies sparked renewed interest in fairy folklore, showing just how badly we want to believe.
Next, we head over to Ireland, land of emerald hills, ancient stones, and deep fairy lore. Here, the fairies were not minor spirits, they were once gods. According to Irish mythology, the Tuatha De Danann were a powerful, magical race who ruled Ireland before humans arrived. When they lost a great war against the human Milesians, they vanished into the hills and misty forests. The Tuatha De Danann didn't die. They simply changed. They became the Aos Sí, or the people of the mounds, being of great beauty and magic, hidden from the mortal eye. Fairy forts, fairy circles, and fairy mounds are still respected in Ireland today. Construction projects have been rerouted, trees left untouched, all to avoid angering the unseen folk, because in Ireland, fairies aren't just a myth, they're a presence.
Fairies aren't unique to one country or continent. Their presence spans the globe.
In Celtic traditions, we have the Siddha. In Scandinavia, the hoodoo folk, the hidden people, who live in the rocks and mountains.
In Japan, yokai, like the kappa or yuki-onna, carry the mischievous and ethereal qualities of fairies.
In India, celestial apsaras dance in the clouds and rivers, bringing beauty and fertility.
In West Africa, the Aziza are tiny forest spirits who guide and protect. The Abiku, in contrast, are child spirits trapped between worlds.
And in Native American lore, the Wampanoag's Pukuji is a mischievous, sometimes dangerous forest dweller. The Lakota speak of little people who guide and guard.
All across the world, humans have imagined and perhaps encountered beings just beyond the veil.
Beings that watch us from the trees, that dance in the dew, that laugh when no one is around. What's striking in so many fairy stories is their deep connection to nature.
For the most part, fairies live in wooded groves, under ancient hills, beside bubbling streams. They're guardians of flowers, of animals, of balance.
And perhaps that's why belief in fairies has endured. They remind us of the magic we've forgotten. They whisper that the world is alive, enchanted, and listening. Maybe, just maybe, they're still here.
So, where did the idea of fairies with wings come from? Wings, after all, are symbols. They represent freedom, flight, and a being untethered from the ordinary world. Ancient civilizations, from the Sumerians to the Egyptians, revered winged beings as messengers of the divine.
Then came Shakespeare. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, his mischievous fairies flit and flutter through the forest, casting spells and creating chaos. Later, in Peter Pan, we meet Tinkerbell, a fairy with glowing wings and a fiery temper. Art, literature, and film helped cement the image of fairies as dainty winged women in sparkly dresses. But traditional folklore often depicted them quite differently. The Irish Siddur and Scottish Aos court didn't have wings. They walked, vanished, or shimmered into being. Their power was not in flight, but in mystery.
Wands, too, are a modern addition, symbols of control and manifestation. In ancient tales, fairies didn't need wands. They were magic. Still, these symbols seem to help connect us to the stories.
Could fairies exist? Science hasn't proven or disproven their existence. But it has shown that we live in a universe rich with electromagnetic fields, invisible forces, and unexplained energies. Perhaps fairies are life forms we simply haven't detected yet.
Belief in fairies is often dismissed as fantasy, but for those who felt something in the quiet woods or seen something glimmer just out of sight, belief is something else entirely. It's a connection, a possibility, a question still unanswered. So, what are fairies, truly? Are they magical beings from forgotten realms? Nature spirits? Or perhaps something altogether different?
Well, that's for you to decide. Perhaps the true magic of fairies is their resistance to definition.
So the next time you're out walking in nature, step lightly.
And maybe leave a little offering on a stone. Because
You never know who might be watching.